Galvatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Autopod Decepticast, your podcast that formerly broke down 1986's Transformers the movie minute by minute. We are on a little break of ourselves right now, but we will have new shows for you starting after the holidays for sure. But in the meantime, hey, that's no reason not to re-gift some of our content in a new and exciting way. This is your co-host Ryan filling in here for the boys because, let's face facts, I'm everyone's favorite. I'm sure this is true, despite all the empirical evidence to the contrary. Ooh, falsettos are so funny. Fucking ghost. Anyway, we are back with part 2 of Deviation de Script. That is really the French for Script Deviations. Did I nail it? French-speaking listeners, let me know. Aaron and I think took like 3 years of French in high school. It was 3 or 4. So I can speak it like maybe a 2-year-old. I'm told that most people can understand foreign languages better than they can speak it, but I am the opposite. Which is like the least helpful way for your brain to deal with a foreign language. I have been to France, and I prefaced every interaction with "Pardonnez-moi, je parle français très mauvais," which means I speak French very badly. And they will hook you up if you even attempt to try. I remember asking a metro worker, "Vous parlez anglais?" And he said, "un peu," which means a little, and then proceeded to speak flawless English. So, where's this story going, you may be asking, and how is it related to Transformers? Well, it's nowhere, and it isn't. And that is, you know what? That is the APDC promise. Random mindless babble that is mildly amusing, sometimes just accidentally. This edition of Script Deviations covers episodes 21 through 37 in a row. And yes, I did end it with 37 just for that joke, if anybody gets that. You're welcome, Mike. This is a meaty one. We have the death of Optimus Prime, the Matrix passing, the birth of Galvatron, and the death of Starscream. You also hear a little from our special guest from episode 23 and 24, friend of the show, Ben Marks. All right, pitter-patter, let's get at her. You enjoy the show while I think of my next pointless story full of dead ends and non-sequiturs. All right, bye.
Do you guys know what time it is?
It is 3:15.
Script Deviations.
So, in reference to his battle with the Decepticons in the script, the script mentioned that Optimus Prime is spinning and whirling like the Sundance Kid.
That's not in mine.
He takes a lot out.
What?
That's what it says.
That is very odd.
In reference to his truck charge, it says, like a power back, he transforms into truck mode and barrels into them, sending Decepticons flying around like shards of glass hit by a 45.
That's a real mixed metaphor.
Why didn't they say shards of glass hit by a
Like
Mack
simile.
truck?
Yeah.
Also, it's like we start off with a football analogy, and then all of a sudden we're into guns.
Wild West.
There's a lot of stuff going on. At some point,
What's the football reference?
Power, what was it?
I'm assuming a power back.
Isn't that a football thing?
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised I would even say that, knowing as
sorry.
much about football as I do.
I think it is.
All
No,
right.
I just glossed over. I just wasn't paying attention.
So at some point, he becomes engulfed by Decepticons, and we, the viewer, are meant to believe that his attack is foiled. Basically, there's this Megatron
pile-on.
turns, and there's like a scrum of Decepticons on top of him.
That's for our UK listeners.
or Australian.
That's right.
And from which Prime then smashes through, and then he engages Megatron in the confrontation. And back to what we were talking about earlier, when that scene where Prime is up close and it looks like he's kind of lifting himself up. I just lifted myself up, so vocally, hopefully,
think I
that came
picked it up.
across. So he lifts himself up.
Okay.
And the reason that happens is because as they were engaging in the initial dialogue, Dirge took a sneaky leap at Optimus
had that too,
Prime.
yeah.
And while this happens, Prime basically stiff arms him, another football reference, turns him upside down with one hand, and then drives him head first into the rocky ground, letting him crumple and fall. And then that's when, and so that happens, and then Prime lifts himself up and says, "That's a question you should ask yourself, Megatron."
I had that too, where there's just such a funny image. And in mine, I think it said he grabs his leg and then pile drives him into the ground.
He should have done like an underdog villain type of thing where he like tried to shake the loose change out of his upside down pockets. But and then the script also comments on that electricity that encompasses them, but it attributes them. It says that when they first clashed, they ran into the wall and hit some electrical panels and causing them to short circuit. And so the script describes it as a fiery nimbus of crackling electrical energy.
Man, somebody was like combing the Thesaurus when they were writing this.
The only other note I have on Script Deviations is that early on, apparently, like what we don't see. So this is written in, and it happened. So I guess it happened from a canon perspective, but we didn't see it because it's during that scene when Hot Rod's like, "We got to help Prime," and you can kind of see him scuffling. But Megatron attempts to kick Prime in the throat.
Yeah.
And Prime catches the foot and hurls him into the metal pile, and that we see the reaction of that, and that's where Megatron finds the shard. So that's what I've got.
So sorry, listeners, I forgot my script at home, but I think I do remember the parts that are deviations on this, and it's tough putting this into like a continuity thing because stuff gets shifted around in the movie, but there is a part in the script where in between Devastator and this battle, kind of, we see Ultra Magnus and a bunch of other Autobots where he's actually in truck mode and has them all piled onto his trailer because he's a car carrier.
Oh, he's hauling them around.
Yeah, and he brings them up to Devastator. They all offload and start fighting Devastator, and then, run away. It's not a very good scene, which is probably why it's not in the movie.
So they show up, fight him a little bit, and then run away.
That's right. So yeah, they're a storyboard. They at least storyboarded it. You can find it online if you look.
Actually, okay, I have seen those some of those storyboards. Yeah, that's right. I think Ultra Magnus fires some rockets at him or something. Okay, gotcha. And I think maybe one or two of those guys. That might be where Trailbreaker or somebody dies.
Yeah, or Smokescreen or something. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's the only other deviation I had. You covered the other ones.
Gotcha. Well then, Caleb, have you got any deviations?
No.
All right. Hey, we made it fast for you.
Script.
Let's do it in harmony. 1,
Oh God.
2, 3. Script Deviations. All right. Well, maybe we'll use that sometime.
Yep. Nope.
What do you got, Jed?
Okay, so not a lot on this one because, again, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot my script at home. From what I remember, the only thing I can think of that is a deviation on this, I'm sure you'll have the ones that I would have covered otherwise. The only thing I can think of is, as we're looking at the last of this minute, 21, basically 59, where Hot Rod gets taken prisoner. Instead of using him as a shield, Megatron puts the gun to his head. Uses him as a hostage instead of a shield.
Oh, very dark.
Yeah.
And I don't have much either. I had a note that we actually covered last episode about Megatron slipping a dagger from his boot, but I think we covered that. Prime apparently at one point used a chunk of broken concrete to knock the laser dagger from Megatron's hand in the version of the script that I have. And then I think I referred to this last episode, but we're coming around to it more in this episode, is that so Cup and Hot Rod we know that they're on the outskirts of this battle, right? We know Hot Rod is because we saw him run up there, and we know Cup is because he said stay away, and we've seen Cup tell him to finish it off. In the script that I am reading, there is a lot of battling going on kind of in the circumference of the Prime and Megatron battle. So there's little notes about Hot Rod and Cup taking out Decepticons here and there while also cheering on Prime. So the script will say something like, Cup takes out 2 Decepticons with his pistol and then turns his like, get him, Prime, get him, that kind of thing.
That's interesting because actually I'm remembering this now. In the script that I have, it's the exact opposite, where it's basically like 3 o'clock high, where everything stops to watch this battle. And I'm like, why would you do this?
It's yeah, I don't know.
All right, well, I guess we'll never figure it out. Caleb?
Nope.
Don't look at me. I don't like fights.
I am anti-fight. Hey guys, let's have some tea.
Hey,
Huh?
Caleb,
Yeah.
what you doing?
What you knowing?
You want to work in the Script Deviations thing?
I'm just goofing. I thought I had a thing and I didn't.
Dude,
Oh,
I'm
God.
sorry.
I thought I had a
I'm sorry.
thing.
I couldn't even pick up on what it was.
Yeah,
I
it was
like,
pretty
there
good.
was nothing
He
to
didn't
pick
give
up
him,
on.
He didn't give you anything, yeah.
Script Deviation. We need a lady out.
There we
They
go.
were in pain just being here.
See, we know women.
We did throw a tampon joke in there for him, am I
Yeah,
right?
and nothing. No,
Edit the hell out of that,
I've
please.
never
Do
met a
not
woman
Put that in there.
who doesn't love a tampon joke.
Okay.
All right.
It's like Oakley Dokley.
What you got, Jet?
Okay, so there are some differences in here. No, I mean there are huge ones. The biggest one is that Prime, whenever he's fighting Megatron, at no point gets his rifle. Basically, he doesn't have it even after Optimus. Even after Megatron's on the ground, he doesn't have the gun. So, whenever Hot Rod jumps in, Hot Rod grabs for the blaster. Megatron quickly gets Hot Rod in a headlock, and Megatron says, "Stand back, Prime, or your lackey becomes dust," which is a pretty good line. Because he doesn't basically just have him in a headlock. He has him in a headlock, and he points the gun at Hot Rod's midsection.
Okay.
So he's using him as a hostage as opposed to a shield in the original script. And then Hot Rod's struggling, says, "Prime, forget about me, terminate him." And then Megatron says, "Bravery, you all flaunt your bravery." And as he says this, he hurls Hot Rod at Optimus Prime, which I would have loved to
I
see.
would have loved to see that too.
And Blast
I would
Prime...
have just been like, ah!
Heavens! And Blast Prime in the wound that he has already made with his laser dagger. And then on Optimus Prime, as he reacts, his midsection now glowing and smoking, a huge hole where the blaster is struck. Hot Rod regains his feet, and this is where Hot Rod says it's all my fault. But then Megatron's still there, aiming the blaster, and that's where he says, "Fall, you scrap heap, fall," which is the line in the...
I think it'd be cool if he would thrown Hot Rod so hard at Optimus.
It went through
That's-
his side?
That's what would have.
Like it wedged
Yes.
into the hole in his gut.
That's what would have like mortally injured Optimus.
That's...
So not only is like he's on many levels the reason for Optimus's death.
we need to make the movie that you want to see.
I do.
And then Optimus, it's the same thing where the line in the script is, "I should have known you'd be treacherous to the last," and that's whenever he swings up and hits him. And then Hot Rod, "Forgive me, Optimus," and Cup actually at this point comes in and says, "It wasn't your doing, lad. It was Megatron." And then he falls. And basically, then Starscream, this is literally the same in the script. "How do you feel, Mighty Megatron?" Although there's a tag of like, "You look dreadful," which is... I mean, it's on...
Woke up on the wrong side of the bed, mighty Megatron.
God,
Look at the cowlick.
can't stand it.
And then Megatron, this is the first mention of this. So Megatron weakly clutches at Starscream and says, "The wound is mortal. My life spark hungers for infinite peace," which is the mention of the life spark, which is something that is in the script and doesn't come in until much later iterations of the Transformers, if I'm not mistaken. You basically in the comic, but it's never really in the cartoon. I don't think it's
in the comic, the original Marvel either.
No,
think it
not
showed
the
up
original
until
IDW. And
Yeah, maybe.
And it is in Beast Wars as well.
Oh, okay, that's probably where it showed up. The idea of spark as like an essence, life essence.
And then, why would they? And then Starscream drops Megatron's hand coldly, calls to other Decepticons. "Megatron approaches ultimate termination." I'll just read it. "Megatron approaches ultimate termination. We shall take him to Cybertron and there determine which of us shall rule in his stead."
So the couple that I have for my version of the script, after Megatron tosses Hot Rod to the side and approaches Prime and does his whole "would have waited eternity for this," he also says to Optimus Prime, "Crawl, slave, on your knees." In their version, Megatron and Starscream are kind of like hanging out a little bit down there.
Yeah.
But Megatron at one point said, while clutching Starscream's hand, says, "Enshrine me."
Enshrine?
Oh yes, that comes up later actually.
It's just but so obviously he knows he's gonna die from that statement. But
Oh my
obviously
God,
in yours, he
I
definitely
cannot
knew.
wait until we get to it because it's so fucking weird in the script. It's so weird.
Everybody clap.
Thank you, live studio audience.
Or you know what? You always go first.
That's true.
I'm
You
gonna
go.
go
Hey.
first. Steal some of your thunder. So in my version, I don't have much. In my version, Soundwave doesn't carry Megatron. Starscream is carrying Megatron in the version that I have. But the funny thing about it is the script notes that Starscream is dragging Megatron by one leg, callously disregarding the way Megatron's head and upper body bump and get knocked around from the dragging.
Yeah, I have that too.
The script also notes that Starscream, when he boards Astrotrain, he kicks other Decepticons out of his way to make room for him. And it also notes that Astrotrain takes off, leaving a number of generic Decepticons behind.
Oh, I don't have that.
Who they're stranded, and then they're immediately surrounded by Autobots, and they all surrender. And that's all I got.
Whoa, they surrender? So in
Yeah.
your script, have you read forward from this point?
Not really.
I'm just curious, so they presumably now have prisoners?
So can they be reprogrammed to be Autobots?
In the show, Megatron reprograms Autobots to be Decepticons, but we never see the reverse. But I would imagine
There's just a guy with a garage door opener
Just
type
clicking it.
button. Yeah, just to fuck with them all. Just changing them from
From good to bad, bad to
yeah,
good.
yeah.
I like it.
Garage door opener. That reminds me of when you guys used to play CB tag.
So,
He's acting
I
so
need an
cunty.
adult.
all right. So when we were in high school, we just there wasn't cell phones necessarily, smartphones and bullshit like that.
Yeah,
The
it
year was
was-
1995.
it was a weird thing where there was CB. People were interested in CB stuff.
So we used to play. We used to have all CB radios. We used to basically give somebody 5 minutes to go hide. And
CB tag.
and then we would go try to find them.
Sounds
But
so
but
sad.
why we were doing that? Yeah, it's, coming from you. That,
All right.
Yeah, that. But what we also did in the meantime, we would just as we were driving down streets, we would hit our garage door opener, and statistically, I'd say usually in the course of an evening there was at least 3 or 4 garage doors that would open because we just happened to
Because
have
the radio signal would just hit. Yeah.
So we would remember where those were, and we would basically go by those to their house every night. And
Oh
open
my
the garage
God.
door. To go a step further, my friend Jamie was big into ham radio, and he had modified his ham radio to cover the 46,000 hertz range, which is cordless phones at the time, which nobody has anymore. And we could actually talk. We could hear people talking on their phones, and we could talk to them and break in on their conversation. So
Like the party lines.
what was awesome is we'd be listening to our phone. We'd listen to the ham radio, and we'd open a garage door, and we could hear the lady go, "There it goes again. It's opening up again."
Harold,
Yeah.
Harold, it's
And then
happening again.
The funniest,
What, Martha?
the funniest thing I remember one night we heard 2 old ladies talking, and all of a sudden my friend just breaks in on their conversation and just goes, "Shut up!" like that, and you hear this silence for a few seconds, and you hear one of the ladies go, "Did you just tell me to shut up?"
They're still enemies.
To this day.
Yeah, so
That was a real riff.
Did you just tell me to shut up? I'm the beatbox guy. Shit the bed.
Ryan, what you got?
There are not a huge amount in this one. There are some really significant ones in the next one, so everybody there's a little taste there. But in this one, and I think this is a good choice. I understand that Perceptor is supposed to be analytical and scientific, but his lines in the original script, whenever he transforms, he says, "His wounds are mortal. Soon his life maintenance system will self-extinguish, and all function will cease for eternity."
Wow.
I'm like, you're doing a lot of extra. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why you gotta add for eternity.
That's the opposite on my version of the script.
Really? What do
In
you
my
have?
version of the script, Perceptor
He
can't.
did.
No, in my version, he can't even finish the line. He says, "I fear the wounds are," and then just trails off. He can't bring himself to say anything. So
they kind
that's
of
the
went
full spectrum.
Yeah,
of what
they
could
went
happen.
for the middle ground.
They did.
Once again, I applaud their work on that because I think they made the right choice.
The only other thing that is a little different is Optimus Prime's speech. He has more in the next minute. At this one, whenever he is passing the Matrix to Ultra Magnus, he says, "You and I battled the Decepticon hordes across the corridors of time itself. I know you'll continue that struggle." Sags gasps, hanging on. "My life spark. Transfer the spark."
Wow, it's heavy.
So the only other thing I have is that the script mentions, and I can't remember if we talked about this last episode, but the script mentions that Prime is on a, quote, improvised platform with a profusion of electricity discharging tubes and, quote, plasma bottles
we did.
hooked up to his arms and gaping middle wound. And clearly on the screen, it doesn't really appear improvised at all.
Or that anything is connected to him.
And there's
Well,
nothing
no,
connected to him.
There's a machine that's taking readings.
Yeah.
There is
presumably,
something.
well,
I guess it's Bluetooth
the
because there's
thing, is
nothing
like,
hooked up to
Something's
him.
monitoring.
It is wireless as opposed to everything else in this movie, which has to connect to a weird device.
If
to
he's got
make it work.
Bluetooth health monitoring, why couldn't Soundwave Bluetooth that video?
I'm
onto
glad
that
that they
screen?
didn't have a bunch of tubes and stuff.
I think
it
that-
would have been distracting
Yes,
from the moment.
I agree. Also,
kind of leave him pure.
You didn't need them to get it.
right?
No.
Yeah, you get it. That's simplified. All right. Well, I have. Whew, this one's weird. It's a lot because in this script, the Matrix as a physical object does not exist. So it's more of like, again, with the Allspark or the Spark or whatever. I'm just gonna straight read this from the script because it is fascinating. Titan shot on Ultra Magnus and Optimus Prime. A distraught Ultra Magnus nods, reaches out with a free hand, points forefinger at Optimus Prime's chest. A glowing beam shines from his finger to chest, and then a sunburst effect, like opening a door on heaven. A door in Prime's chest opens, revealing a pure white light, and a column of that light goes from Optimus's chest across to a similar spot on Ultra Magnus's chest, where a similar door opens to let that column of light in. Then Optimus Prime's life spark floats out. The life spark is a glowing, pulsating, visible creature of pure radiant energy in the form of a miniature Optimus Prime.
What the fuck?
Accompanied by ethereal, bell-like sounds, that life spark goes from Prime's chest to Ultra Magnus's chest. The chest doors close, and the ethereal light and sound stop. Optimus Prime lies back with a contented sigh, his face and entire body bathed in ethereal afterglow, which bonds him faintly with Ultra Magnus. Now, this begs one question. There's a little bit more, but this begs the question of, like, I haven't read ahead, so how does Galvatron take the Matrix?
That'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
in that.
Just
yeah.
rips it from Ultra Magnus.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it a tiny Ultra Magnus that he takes out of it?
Oh, very cute.
And then Optimus Prime says, "Now I take my leave, dear friends, but I am not gone. I am forever one with each of you, till all life sparks are one." And the Autobots repeat the cry.
Till
all life sparks
are
are
one.
one.
So that is very different.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And it comes in play coming up with Megatron when he dies too.
Ooh, that's right. We're gonna see him enshrined, perhaps? No, because
No,
that's what
he
said he wanted to have
Yes,
done.
and it is so fucked up what happens. It is so bananas. I can't wait to get to it.
Enshrine me. So in my version, it's a little more evolved from that. Prime gives his Till All Are One speech, but he doesn't open his chest and hand it over to Ultra Magnus, kind of like where yours was. Prime is tilted up on a platform. Ultra Magnus then presses a button on Prime's chest. The secret doorway appears. Ultra Magnus reaches inside the chest and pulls the Matrix out for himself. It glows intensely. Ultra Magnus puts it in his own chest, closes the door, and then there's sort of an energy burst after that happens where Ultra Magnus's eyes glow, I guess indicating his new power and prestige.
I kind of like that. I wish they'd included that.
In both of these versions, there's no mention of the hot rod
Yeah, that's
intervention.
true. I didn't even pick up on that. You're right.
At some point, they had to decide we need to clue the audience in.
Again,
a
I think that
little
was
bit.
like a studio note where they're like, "Hey, we need to fucking the kids aren't gonna get it if they don't know the hot rod's gonna." That's not even an accent. I don't know what
I
I'm
mean,
doing.
well, think about if that scene didn't exist. How weird would it be at the end of the movie when Hot Rod?
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. It does come out of
You might
fucking
not really
nowhere.
understand
It
that
comes
that's
out of
supposed to
yeah. Wow.
So that was a critical decision. I mean, as small as it was, it's a very critical decision. I just wrote in my notes, it would have been funny if in the original script, Ultra Magnus dropped the Matrix, bobbling it like a fumbled football. I don't know why. I think that's funny, but... like,
oh no!
maybe he trips over those cords and... like,
Oh god, it becomes like a slapsticky...
Imagine Optimus dropping it and it falls through a grate in the floor.
Oh no!
It's kind of like, oh,
And they like have a magnet on a stick. They're
yeah.
trying to get it.
someone get a Phillips head screwdriver pronto.
a rat comes up and drags it off.
rat.
Rat Bat comes and
got
takes it.
Oh, rat bat.
Great. That was great. I'm glad we did this.
I want to interject real quick. I've been trying to lose a little weight, and I have switched to drinking Diet Vinsta Cola.
God damn it. That's a pretty good pun.
Very
It's
good.
better than the caffeine-free.
How long
Diet
have you been
Vinsta
holding
Cola.
on to that?
For about 5 minutes.
All right.
I'm glad you got it in there.
Yeah.
Well, I had to at some
Slipped it
point.
right in there in no way that was convenient.
Nope. All right,
That'll be a good edit.
back to the script.
What do you got, Jet?
I don't have a huge amount in this one. It's basically just a different... There is actually a scene that takes place after Prime's death that I am glad they removed because it doesn't really seem to fit. Whenever they pan for the grief reactions after Prime dies, Ultra Magnus steps forward and clears his throat. And he says, "I was never one for fancy speeches, but I think you all know how I feel. But the time for feeling is past." That's a weird one.
it's
But the time for feeling is past. The time for action is upon us. And Cup says, "Here, here, we're with you, Ultra Magnus." And then there's shouts of agreement, presumably still over Prime's dead fucking corpse. And then Ultra Magnus says, "We must pursue the remainder of the Decepticon forces and root them out before a new leader is selected to replace Megatron." This is all good cut.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Perceptor, "A sound strategy which I heartily endorse since it brooks no tendencies to appeasement." And Ultra Magnus...
I guess that it's basically to establish that people like Ultra Magnus are
I mean, I
okay
think,
with
I
this.
guess. I feel like we already got that.
I think it was. I think it was the writer. Like,
Oh, again, this
Sure.
is a first draft, so you include everything and then you cut.
it's like the awkward toast at a wedding.
And then Ultra Magnus doesn't get it. He says, "What?" And Springer says, who has just appeared into the scene apparently, he says he's with you. And then Perceptor, well, I suppose you could put it that way.
And then just driving home that Perceptor's a dorko.
Yeah, he's a real
And
nerd.
Ultra Magnus is like a jock.
Spring, I don't know. That's yeah. And then Ultra Magnus gestures to the ruins of Autobot City. "We cannot leave until this city and the citizens of Earth have been fortified to resist another Decepticon assault. We must rebuild and rearm, and we must do
Who's
it quickly."
got time for that?
It's a lot of work.
I mean, that's months of
And as we'll see later on in the scene, they're doing just that,
Yeah.
and they get attacked again.
Well, that's the thing is like, if I can show, don't tell. They just start doing
Have
that.
they forgot about their strategy to invade Cybertron?
yeah,
Do they forget about that in the movie?
I mean, I guess so, yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, no, I mean, it changes because now it's about defense and rebuilding. And then there is a scene here that we, again, don't need, but it's more RC and Hot Rod stuff.
But the Decepticons are weak right now.
Yeah, you should
Fuck the
100%.
rebuilding. They're retreating. Go get
Oh,
them and kill them.
100% you should go after them right now. Like, right now, where they're leaderless, they're on the run, they're still in space, but...
Now imagine if they'd have done that, they would have probably run into Unicron, all would have been slaughtered, and in
Well, again-
hindsight it probably wouldn't have worked, but that's strategically the right decision.
Militaristically, yeah. And again, we...
You can't account for Unicron just hanging out. in
yeah,
space.
and again, we keep coming back to trying to end the movie in every scene. But everybody runs away to do their stuff. With a roar of approval, several Autobots transform and start rolling out, moving rubble and dead Decepticon warriors aside, hauling out ruined shuttles and stores of weaponry, etc. We move to Cup, Hot Rod, RC, and Daniel. Hot Rod is still hanging his head. He says, "Optimus Prime would still be leading us if I hadn't been so dumb." And Cup bellows, You can't mourn him back to existence, lad. Now pick up your diodes and get to work.
I love how your cup is Burgess Meredith.
Yeah.
All right, you son of a bitch, you get back in there. Ah.
He's Popeye's father.
That's right. Okay, and then RC says gently to Hot Rod, I thought what you did was the bravest thing I ever saw. And Hot Rod takes a beat, looks up shyly. You did? RC teasing him, but with a smile.
Oh, God.
Of course. I'm only a she-bot, so I could be mistaken. Holy fucking shit. I underlined that because I'm like, oh no.
So she just says to her, I'm only a she-bot, so I could be mistaken?
Yeah. And it's supposed to, I guess, be like teasing, like self-deprecating, but it's just straight up sexist.
Yeah, that's bad.
So,
Yeah, she...
And
modern
they-
RC in the IDW comics, I think, is an iconic sort of feminist character.
yeah.
I would hope so.
And this version of RC
oh, it's not
is-
good. It's not good at all.
Yeah, I know my place, Hot Rod.
You got Springer grabbing her by the wrist and leading her around.
Everybody's rebuilding the city. She's like making muffins.
She's got an apron.
That's right.
Are they, at this point, are they still standing around
Yes!
Prime's dead
They're
body?
still in the same room with Prime's dead body, which is fucking weird.
There's some flirtatious...
Yeah,
fucker,
and he's like, oh.
we gonna fuck.
That's right, I'm gonna put my piston in your fucking...
What does the piston go into?
drive
your fuel
shaft.
hole? I don't know. Anyway,
exhaust.
moving. And then Cup slaps Hot Rod on the back and again bellowing, are you just gonna hang about like a Dracilian proto-pig, or are you gonna move?
I'm so glad they cut all this shit out.
Then Hot Rod says, I'm moving, so stop hollering. And Daniel, wait for me, guys. And they transform and roll out. Daniel tries to run after them, but immediately starts lagging. Springer moves up behind him, shakes his head, and scoops him up. Springer does a lot in this script of taking care of Daniel. If RC's not doing it, Springer seems to be doing it begrudgingly.
Right, they like totally abandon him.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. And then Springer's like, okay, Squirt, just don't get in the way. His transformation complete, Springer now rides off with Daniel riding inside as we watch the other Autobots setting about to rebuild the city. And that's where we switch to Deep Space, which I will do on the next one because it's very different than what happens.
I'm looking forward to this. All I've got on mine, a lot of cuts were made, so none of that happens. But the thing that was striking to me is the script that I have doesn't elaborate on Prime, like this death sequence, much at all. It doesn't talk about his color change. It doesn't. In fact, it just basically it says it gives the shot direction on Prime. He dies.
Wow.
And that's it.
Wow.
It's like
So
the
they're like,
the other direction entirely. And then
Wow, it is weird. There seems like there is
I love how each version that you have of the script is bonkers in a completely different way. I love it.
maybe we fleshed out too much. Oh, maybe we cut too
Hey,
much.
just how about you cut everything out and he just fucking dies? Animators, figure it out. Okay, so listeners, I have a lot, but I guarantee it is not boring. It is amazing, the deviations at this moment. Okay, so we're in deep space. Astrotrain is zooming in from a great distance to fill the screen. We hear muffled whispering, which becomes a roar of argument inside Astrotrain as the others are vying for the leadership role. So far, so good. It's the same. Everybody's arguing. They actually start fighting, though. Like, Scavenger is trying to throttle Starscream, who has his knee on Dirge's throat, while Dirge is kicking out at Scavenger, as Ramjet is shoving Soundwave in the background.
Oh, God.
And then Starscream says...
It's just a barroom rumble.
Oh, yeah. And it goes on for pages. Like, Starscream says, we shall decide our future leadership as soon as Megatron is enshrined in the Decepticon Hall of Heroes.
Oh, wait a minute. So Megatron, for context, has not been kicked off the jet.
Nobody gets kicked off.
Oh, okay.
They take
All
him to
right.
Cybertron.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
So Megatron is still alive, or is he dead?
No, he's alive.
Okay.
He's still alive. And they take him to the hall, or they're taking him to the Hall of Heroes, and not one millibleep before. And so basically, they continue to fight, and the Megatron says, "Wait, I still exist. While I function, I alone rule. Hear me, Decepticons. I am still your leader." And they're like, "Fuck all that. We don't hear any of that shit." And so that we move toward Cybertron spiraling toward the Meccano planet, which is an awkward phrase, down past the orbiting moons from a different angle, so we're not passing the Autobot munitions factory. They descend past, this is weird, metal sawtooth mountains and machined plateaus, ball-bearing waterfalls. No.
Ball bearing.
Don't do this. Ball bearing waterfall. Waterfalls of ball bearings, because sure, that makes sense.
That feels like something Michael Bay would do.
Right.
Yeah,
for
100%,
his version
yeah,
of
yeah.
the Transformers movie.
Cog rivers.
That's right, yeah.
And,
Rivers of oil or something.
well, that would have made more sense.
That does actually make more sense. So we go down toward a huge metallic equivalent of a classical rock-cut mausoleum. It is the Decepticon Hall of Heroes.
I want to go there. How much is admission?
Well, I don't know if you do, because as Astrochan lands, the hall looks like a mechanicistic Art Deco high-tech version of the Albert Speer design setting for Hitler's Nuremberg Party rally. And
that makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
I guess I get it. They're bad guys, but I'm like, whoa. And if you look at that picture of that,
oh my god!
I will throw up a picture of it on something, not social media, because no way. But it does look good, but maybe just pick another thing to reference.
It did not get included in the final cut.
Well, this all involves
Can we maybe get rid of all the allusions to Nazism?
Maybe we don't talk about the Nazis. I don't know. I'm just fucking saying. So we go down a semicircular colonnade. The columns are constructed of eerie, light-emitting, carved metallic crystalline substance glowing coldly. And basically, inside the half ring, there are huge columns. A statue is set in a coffin-like stone niche, and each statue has a coffin that rests on a pedestal inside. Each pedestal is a glowing niche, a lot of niches, in which rests the life spark of each Decepticon. That is representative of that person. The Decepticon life sparks are something like the Autobot life spark we saw in Optimus Prime, only their light is a cold, greenish, baleful glare, and their forms are indistinct and ghostly, shimmering and uncertain. So presumably it's like the tiny Optimus Prime that was transferred to Ultra Magnus. That's the same thing that you're seeing in this.
Are there any recognizable Probably not, because we don't go into Decepticon history in the cartoon as much as you do Autobot lineage.
Right, no, they don't mention anybody specifically, and then everybody piles out of Astrotrain, and they're still arguing. Starscream says, "You simpletons must..." That's terrible. You read this.
Nah, you're good.
You do it.
You simpletons must choose me.
That's right. And
Caleb hangs his head.
No,
in shame.
I'm sorry. I'm itching my eye. No, it's
Okay,
fine.
sure.
still arguing. I'm going to skip a lot because there's a lot of fucking arguing and fighting. Megatron in voiceover, weakly shouting over the den, "Help me, my life spark is flickering." And so they're just fighting, and he's off to the side like a pile of garbage.
Just dying alone and sad. Even
Yeah.
Soundwave won't go over.
I mean,
I will console you, Megatron.
Yeah, I even feel a little bad for Megatron in this. "You must place my life spark in the urn and deliver it to my resting place." Nah, there's still more fighting, and breaking another hero statue, which falls over on Megatron.
So they're just like roughing up the joint.
Oh yeah,
It's
they're
a-
fucking this shit up.
Like, why would they choose to have this battle in the sacred Decepticon shrine?
Because they're just
So,
They don't give a fuck about
They
anything,
could-
except they certainly do give a fuck about something. They built this shrine in the first place.
They went,
Yeah,
to
it's
the
all over
trouble,
the
they went
place.
to the trouble to get there, too.
Exactly. To intern, allegedly, Megatron.
Megatron's life spark, which is
Like, let's
just-
intern that and battle outside the place, right? How about that? Have
Yeah,
some respect,
but
you
no.
fuckers.
In the falling statue from Megatron's POV, he screams as the broken statue crushes and breaks Megatron into 1,000 metal shards in a shower of sparks and smoke, out of which Megatron...
Whoa!
Yeah, right? Out of which Megatron's life spark suddenly rises with
Tiny little glowing Megatron?
That's right.
Okay, alright.
rises with a ghostly, pitiful wail, and joins an ascending stream of ghostly life sparks. We follow Megatron's life spark, which is brighter and more distinct than the others, as it moves to the lead of the quote-unquote pack. Below, the battle for leadership still goes on, but we leave the sounds of battle and argument behind to move up, up, up. So the broken statues are the life sparks that are traveling with him that are less distinct than he is. And so this is the equivalent of throwing them out of the shuttle. Instead of their
Now
bodies, it's the life spark.
So those life sparks will make their way to Unicron.
Well, in a different way, but yeah.
Oh, so there's more.
There's more.
Hold on
Jesus.
this. This is like two different movies that
It's crazy.
Now we're following. I love
Yeah.
this. I love these deviations.
Yeah. Okay, do you want me to go first?
The bubble mess.
I don't have much.
I don't have much either. Again, like I know it leads into the next minute, so there's just a little bit to lead into, and then the next one we come into, which is we're in deep space, and it features Megatron's life spark, as we talked about in the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
The life sparks, instead of the bodies, there are life sparks that are flying through space. His life spark still looks like a little Megatron, and he turns and twists in comet trail of other old hero sparks. Throughout this sequence, all sparks keep moving up and out to bleaker and deeper space. Megatron life spark. My life spark, my precious spark. It will decompose in space and I shall cease to exist. Oh! It says Og. Megatron and the life sparks move out, and now we're in a ghostly part of space. There's miasma-like clouds. What?
The writer they're really playing this out, man.
Yeah, man, he went for it. Some of this is really creative, actually. Miasma-like clouds, like a mist over a graveyard, an old Frankenstein movie, swirl around Megatron's life spark and other spark and debris. Megatron's life spark, furious now. If I could be restored to function, what vengeance I would take upon those who denied me my destiny. I would do anything for satisfaction. Anything.
Oh my God.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how Unicron interacts with this scenario to turn him into Galvatron.
It's weird. Then there's a ghostly voice, which...
Well, where is it?
From infinite distance. A fearsome, sepulchral voice made of many overlaid voices of menace whispering, which is a new hyphenated term.
And it's ghostly?
Yeah.
Megatron.
That's right.
Like that.
And Megatron's life spark, startled, frightened. Who calls Megatron here? And then ghostly voice.
Louder, as if that voice itself could come and get him. Come to me, Megatron. Come to me.
That's right, and that's where I'll stop, because that's about as much as we see in this minute.
Okay. Mine are definitely not as exciting as that. In mine, the script says that all the tapes, including Buzzsaw, come out of Soundwave, but I shouldn't say all the tapes except Ratbat, including Buzzsaw, but not Ratbat, come out of Soundwave. And more characters actually have lines in my version. So whenever they're stepping up for leadership. So Blitzwing says, I am a triple changer. I'm worth any two of you. I should run things. And Dirge says, death comes to anyone who crosses me, which sounds like probably like a quote on his tech spec or something like that. And Astrotrain does have a line. He gets pissy and says, stop squabbling or we're gonna crash.
Who says that?
Astrotrain.
Or we're gonna crash.
As he flies past Pluto.
Is he impersonating Cup?
Oh. Stop squabbling, we're gonna crash, Rocky.
There you go.
And I just wanted to call out a line that I liked how it described Unicron in the script. It described it as a beautiful technological expanse.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got. So I will say before you go into, I don't really have much.
Okay.
As opposed to there's a line that Unicron says where the line where he says, "This I command, you are to destroy the Autobot matrix of leadership." That's what he says on screen. But in this version of the script I have, he just says, "Bring me the Autobot matrix." He doesn't go into. He doesn't go into any detail.
I love how yours, like Ryan's is like full of like crazy like different like mythologies and strange visuals.
And then Aaron, yours is bare bones, and then they meet in the middle.
What we see on screen is the Goldilocks zone.
Yeah. Bring me the Matrix. Megatron's a gopher. I would like Starbucks, please, and a Matrix.
Yeah.
Could you get me one of the new Taco Bell naked egg tacos
so
for breakfast?
So Megatron's a PA.
Yeah. He's an intern. Okay, I've got some stuff here. Here we are. We have an angle on Megatron's life spark as he is suddenly bathed in and gripped by a pale, cold ray, which draws Megatron's life spark. Other sparks and debris across space with dizzyingly increasing speed, hauling everything faster and faster than down, down, down. And Megatron's life spark goes, aye!
I see what you've written. You've written that there are 12 eyes.
There are 12 eyes in IE. All right, now we're on a slab-like mechanical planet, which I don't know what that fucking means. The slab planet is huge and rotates on its axis through a miasma-like clouds and swirling, ominous storm clouds through which strange electronic displays play, and we follow the wailing Megatron life spark and other sparks and debris down through the mists. Here we're on the surface. And this part is super creative. It's really cool. Like, as Megatron's life spark lands and then cowers in a smoking, hell-like, mechanical, high-tech cavern, setting amid belching sulfurous fumes and the coiling and uncoiling of snake-like iron grass and the ceaseless undulation of steel tree trunk forms.
I like how it has those in quotes.
Does this have the ball-bearing waterfalls?
This
too?
is the same. No, that was Cybertron.
Oh, yeah.
This is different.
This is Slab Planet.
Yes.
Sorry.
They writhe menacingly. These tree trunk forms are covered with geometric-shaped metallic crystalline scales, which create an eerie clanging bell sound as they sway around Megatron's terrified life spark. Note, we will later learn that the tree trunks and grass shapes are hairs on the back of Ingester's hand. But for now, we are ignorant
What's
of that.
Ingester?
That's what Unicron.
That's an
Oh,
early
yeah.
Unicron.
So after all this description, Unicron goes, "Bring me the Matrix."
So, and then if you want to do, you're good at the ghostly voice. So here's
I won't do it that annoying one.
Do it.
Oh, you want to?
Be
Yeah.
annoying.
Welcome, Megatron. Welcome to the planet Unicron.
Who greets me? Show yourself that I may know you.
Who greets me?
Yeah, that's right.
I see. I have to do all of this?
Just this part.
But this has a ghostly voice. Oh, anyway, it's supposed to be roaring like thunder.
Yeah, well, but I like the ghost.
You give no orders here. Here I am alone and master, for I am Ingester, the absorber of Unicron. All right, wait. So, wait.
Mm-hmm.
Ingester is a separate being in
Sounds
this
like he's
from
controlling
Unicron?
him.
It's not clear.
See, it says the absorber of Unicron. Ingester.
I think it's the
separate
same.
things.
I don't know. I haven't read
It's like
ahead.
the Holy Trinity.
Maybe it's
Father,
Ingester.
Son, and the Holy
Ingester is like, well, he says he's the absorber for like the mouth of Unicron.
I don't know, man. He's on the back of this dude's hand, so I don't know.
It's the back,
I feel like
so the
absorber.
slab-like planet is the back of Unicron's hand.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's even much larger.
This is all fucking.
This is
crazy.
also the script where it talks about how on the rings of Unicron, one of those orbs is the size of Earth.
See. Wow, this is crazy.
Okay, Megatron's life spark cowering.
Why did you bring me here? I'm of no use to you. My life spark is dissolving into the void.
I'm not doing that.
Okay, I'll do it.
Just, no, just read it.
Oh, all right.
Sorry, I'm getting
So
mad.
grumpy.
I'm sorry.
Man, God.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Grumpatron over here.
Surly bot. Then the ghostly voice says, "Silence! You said you would do anything to regain function and be revenged." Megatron stops cowering, shows a glint of cunning. He's beginning to plot.
Yes, I did. But why should that concern you, mighty Ingester?
And that is where we will pick up next episode.
Wow. This is bonkers.
It is
It's a real cliffhanger.
It's almost like we're experiencing a parallel universe
That's right.
in our
Those
universe.
are like scenes that are like heavy metal.
Yeah,
era.
yeah. It's much
And
more psychedelic.
Fantasy, yes, totally fantasy.
And then the main difference that I was going to talk about here is that remember back in Lithone when they talked about that alternate takes on how Lithone was destroyed and how Unicron created a mist that enveloped the planet and ultimately cracked it like an egg. So in my version of the script, it mentioned that after Megatron was giving Unicron shit and was kind of leaning towards declining the offer, that it's as opposed to that shining bright light and sound, that the mist came out and started to envelop Megatron and started to dissolve him, and that's when he
was
changed
like,
his
"I
mind
guess
about
it's fine."
what was going on here. So
All right.
that's all I've got. Ryan, I'm excited to hear about what you have.
Yeah, they landed on a slab planet. The Life Sparks did, and
How many life sparks? Who were the life sparks?
The life spark-
Refresh our memories.
yeah,
Set this
I will.
up.
I will. Okay, so Megatron is the only one in this version that died. Nobody gets shot out of Astrotrain. There's none of that. They get to Cybertron. Megatron dies. His life spark goes away. And in the fighting of the other Decepticons, they crush some of the Decepticon hero statues, which releases their life sparks into the universe.
The hero statues, the sparks of the hero statues.
Yeah, they're contained in like a lamp. That's
So Decepticons we may have never even met.
100% Decepticons we never met.
Okay, all right.
They're all Decepticons we never met, which actually lends credence to why later, and we'll see it, especially Starscream's coronation, there's a lot of people there that probably shouldn't be there because they're fucking dead. So it may be some confusion between the scripts because in the original one, Megatron's the only one who dies.
Okay.
Okay, so we're on this slab planet. Again, there are quote-unquote tree trunks and grass which whip around in the gale of Unicron's voice. And these tree trunks and grass are hairs on Unicron's hand, which is where I'm like, is he biological? Why would he have hair?
Are these on his palms?
Enough
said about that.
That's right. And then Unicron says, I can grant what you wish and more, if you but enter my service. And Megatron's life
Any
spark...
chance we'd want Caleb to reread that with his ghostly voice?
I feel like Caleb is not going to be into it.
What?
He's texting right now.
So, well, I'm replying to Serge Bomba.
Oh.
Right now. He's asking a
Hey,
question.
Serge.
Yeah, so he's asking,
Shout out to Serge.
Shout out to Serge. He's
Serge
asking a question.
Bomball.
Hello!
Yeah, Caleb can't be bothered. So grant what you wish and more. And then Megatron's life spark says, be specific, please. And I'm like, that's a little off-brand. That's not... Please? I don't know. Then Ingester says, I will transform your pitiful remains and those of your dead colleagues to new and more powerful life forms. I will help you destroy your enemies and wreath you in eternal majesty when I absorb the universe into my dominion. And Megatron says, on what conditions? You will become mine forever and serve only my will. Give me your answer. Surely there is room for negotiation. Your answer I shall return you to your pitiful retinue, and your pitiful retinue to the cold nothingness of the grave. Then Megatron, as he looks quavering, indistinct and flickering life spark shimmering behind him in a pile of debris. Megatron life spark.
I like degree deodorant. Just chunks of deodorant floating around space.
Our sponsor, ladies and gentlemen, this episode, Debris. New life, more powerful life. I and these ancient heroes. Yes, Ingester, I accept your conditions.
Wow.
A long, frightening exhalation of breath, like an endless sigh from hell. Ah, then Megatron is no more. On Megatron life spark, as a cold ray bathes him in a vertical column of light, and the weight of it forces him to bend, contort, and start to shimmer and dissolve. So that kind of is like where the chrome part is in this one.
Wow. So I like this version, and I think there's parts of it that should have been included for at least for one reason, which is Unicron's motivation. We don't know, you never know through the movie as we see it, what the hell his purpose is. Why he's doing what he's doing. He's just a big guy that wrecks up some shit. They try to retcon it a little bit, but even the retconning is weak as fuck, as we discussed last episode. At least that is like, I want to eat everything.
Right.
All right,
I
that's
wanna,
something at least. That's a reason to exist.
It's kind of like that in the books, the comic books, if I remember. There's some of like he just wants to destroy everything, but yeah, it's in this is vague. So
right. Well, that is awesome. So, how crazy is it going to be next week?
Every time.
In the script that I have, basically there's a blinding flash of light and Galvatron exists all of a sudden, and he still resembles Megatron, according to my script. He laughs and flexes his muscles, as we saw Galvatron do, but his voice is deeper, and that seems to be the only real difference from Galvatron. But then the funny thing about it is that he's after the transformation, Galvatron says,
long live Galvatron. Like,
Oh, that's weird.
just trying to hype up an audience that doesn't exist. And also
Trying to make this happen.
Did Hitler need people to be like, was Hitler ever like, hey, long live Hitler?
Right,
You
guys?
know what? I would not put it past Hitler to do something.
Well, we know there's some Nazi stuff in here with the Hall of Heroes.
Yeah.
The only other thing is that Cyclonus is created, and then his quote armada is similar, but the script notes that his armada, his clone of himself, I guess, is much smaller but similarly colored. So
Weird.
he made a clone of himself that's tiny, a mini-me, if you will, according to the
Like,
script
just-
that I have.
Why did again? If you're making more toys, why did you just make more toys?
Well, as we were saying before, like after this scene, actually after the next scene, which he transforms and all of the that crew, but his armada doesn't even exist.
No, there's no,
Really, from this point forward,
Skywarp.
it's a huge
Cyclonus.
mistake. It doesn't even make sense, and I think part of that has to be that, from a storytelling perspective, do you really need two groups of people that have copies
look
of
identical?
themselves? Like,
Yeah.
let's knock it off already. It's cool to have the sweeps. Cyclonus doesn't need that.
Yeah, it seems lazy and weird. I don't know.
I don't even know why it should not. That it's a major movie flub that's caused lots of
People to
discussion
argue
among the fan group, but it also just didn't need to exist.
No.
It's just stupid.
Nah.
Anyway, what you got?
Ingester / Unicron, I don't know, says, "Arise, Galvatron." The debris starts swirling around and into the shimmering life spark of Megatron, merging into it, spinning and interlocking. An X-ray effect takes place in which we see a new skeletal structure, wiring, circuitry, etc., flashing it off as a new and larger being starts to form, getting bigger, fuller, changing from little life sparks to huge, fully formed, thick, throbbing. I added
What?
that. I added that part into Galvatron. The transformation creation ends in a blinding flash, and Galvatron, who still resembles Megatron, again, Aaron, to your script still, but now wears a new insignia which marks him as a servant of Ingester.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, me too.
yeah. A different insignia.
Yep, and then he laughs and flexes his muscles and stretches. His voice is deeper, different from Megatron's. Galvatron. Life, function, power. Ah ha 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 ha! Megatron be gone. Long live Galvatron. So says long live Galvatron. And then
Cocky as fuck right off the bat. But, I mean, not that Megatron wasn't.
and then Unicron says, "And these shall be your minions," like is still maintains. The cold rays descend on them and repeat the transformation process only more rapidly. First transforming the pale life spark to Scourge. Scourge, parentheses sweep character, is bearded, fanged, and ferocious looking. And as soon as he's been created, he roars and stretches an array of similar characters, smaller and all wearing. And here's the weird part: and all wearing dark matching uniforms. What?
They're darker than Scourge.
And they're wearing
clothes?
wearing clothes.
Which,
Uniforms?
yeah, uniforms would lead me to believe that it means design, but later, like in just a second, it doesn't seem like it does. Because Unicron says Scourge, the tracker, and his huntsman, the sweeps. On Cyclonus, new Decepticon with plain transformation ability. As Cyclonus is created from life spark and his armada of similar but smaller and similarly colored and clad creatures are formed. So similarly colored, but they're not wearing uniforms. So why are the sweeps wearing uniforms?
Sweep 6 and 7,
That's the only time.
descending upon this battleground of sorts.
A callback to Call of the Primitives, which is interesting because that's
Best
the,
episode of all time.
that's the of course that's the only time actually the sweeps are referred to by number.
Is that right?
I read that on the TF Wiki.
A little
last
trivia.
night.
Thanks, Jed.
And then basically the end of this is the ghostly voice, comma or parentheses Ingester, loudly proclaiming over the scene, "Now go, take command of your forces on Cybertron and deliver unto me the energy remaining on that world. Go, I command you. Go and do my bidding." So nothing about the Matrix.
So
it's all like
he wants the energy?
yeah. It seems like I haven't read ahead, but it seems like deliver me your planet, which is weird.
He wants, but why does he need them for
I
that?
don't know, because earlier even in the script he seems to take over Lethone with no problem, his mist and shit. So I don't.
Did you have the mist in your version of the script?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so.
Okay.
It's been a while, but I think so.
So go deliver
Yeah.
me the energy. I'm not going to tell you how. You just do that.
Yeah, and again, I haven't read ahead, so I don't know how that works. But in the same way that the movie is convoluted as to Unicron's motivations, this seems weird and convoluted.
The thing I think I look forward to more than anything, whenever we meet up every 2 weeks or so, is finding out where this storyline is going.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
It is a bunk town.
It's fucking crazy.
It is.
I love it.
Once again, I will get mine out of the way so we can get to the real juice, the jet juice.
Oh,
That's not.
the ladies
stop right
love it.
there. Stop right there. So, in my version of the script, Unicron doesn't provide a ship. Galvatron just hops in Cyclonus, who leads the fleet into the distant stars, and
That makes more sense.
yeah. And Galvatron says, "I will rip open Autobot after Autobot until the Matrix is yours, Unicron." So we're still operating. In my version of the script, he's not commanding them to destroy the Matrix. He's commanding them to go bring him the
Is
Matrix.
he
Bring
ripping
that shit back here.
Is he ripping them open to look for it? Like, not in this Autobot. Not in this Autobot.
Oh man, when am I
is
gonna
that-
find the prize?
Yeah.
The way we might open plastic Easter eggs.
That's sure.
Or maybe a
He
pinata.
does.
of sorts.
Galvatron has a YouTube channel where he unboxes Autobots
yeah.
for the Matrix.
Yeah.
I like it. It's very
My
common.
kids are really into the toy genie. Ever heard of the toy genie?
No, I just know it's a huge thing
Oh,
of
God.
like
It's-
unboxing videos is
Yeah,
crazy.
It is a thing. All right, please continue.
There's no horn section for Starscream to blast, and that's really it on mine.
Mine is actually really similar to the movie because, of course, it takes place in the Hall of Heroes. And so at this point, we're now... He does also in mind, he does not give them a ship. So they're just flying. Galvatron and his newly created force fly up and away with great speed. Galvatron's laughter echoing through space and merging with echoes and rumbles of Ingester's ghostly voice as we cut to the Decepticon Hall of Heroes and Starscream. The hall is in shambles, several Decepticons lie in various stages of destruction, and Starscream stands in the center of a circular floor on a raised platform. So it's basically the same. He has a cloak on his shoulders and thrust and ramjet, both showing effects of a battering. Bow in front of him, his Astrotrain holds a huge crown over his head. It's exactly the same. It's to the point where those same characters are doing that in this scene.
Except in the version we see on screen, the characters don't look as
No, they're not
roughed
battered.
up.
Yeah, because there was
Which
no
they
fighting.
should, but
Yeah.
they don't.
Then Starscream preening. Well, get on with the ceremony. Your future monarch is waiting. Oh, and this is where there's a little deviation. Dirge intones rituals from an ancient book. His voice shows how he's not thrilled about any of this.
So it's an ancient Decepticon
Book. Yeah.
Like a Necronomicon of sorts.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Dirge is just, in accordance with ancient ritual, we, the Decepticons of Cybertron, herewith anoint and extol thee, noble Starscream, and proclaim thee king until time ceases to flow. And Dirge and others react to eerie sounds and look up on a annoying Starscream, who petulantly shouts at them, "Get on with it, complete my investiture!"
This must be how John Roberts felt swearing in Donald Trump.
That's, oh man, yeah. That's political. And then Starscream looks where others are looking and reacts, and this is end of the scene, where it ends basically the same place our minute ends.
Okay. Oh man, I'm hoping that this doesn't get back on the rails.
Yeah.
So, I actually, in my version of the script, there are a few little things. When Starscream says, Megatron, Galvatron says, here's a clue, instead of here's a hint. And also, post Starscream's death, after Galvatron asks if... This is a weird one. After Starscream's death and Galvatron asks if anyone wants to fill his shoes, the Decepticons in unison start to say, "Long live!" And then they all in unison realize they don't know his name. And
Oh, really?
Somebody in the crowd who's not really named says, "What'd he say his name was?" And then somebody else in the crowd says, "He didn't." And then Galvatron says, Galvatron.
What a stupid bit.
And then the
pulled that one
Decepticons
out.
say, "Long live
That is
Galvatron" in
ridiculous.
unison.
They pull that one out. They kind of stretch that one out. It's much better the other way
That's
around.
God. What were they writing for The Big Bang Theory? That's a terrible little bit. That
Well, like all of them simultaneously are like,
Oh.
love, live,
wow. Okay.
That's fun. That's fun.
All right. And so here we're on Galvatron and his forces. They descend into the Hall of Heroes, and Galvatron moves out to confront Starscream. Starscream says, "How dare you disrupt my crowning? I shall." Looks closely. "You look vaguely familiar. Something about you reminds me of Megatron?" Galvatron says, "There is no Megatron. I am Galvatron, and I rule." Starscream, "You rule nothing. I, Starscream, am supreme on this planet. I alone." And he blanches and reacts, which is like, whatever. His POV on Galvatron is Galvatron draws a blaster and levels it at Starscream, firing a huge burst. What are you talking about?
I'm once again, good move on the final product that he transforms into
Right.
his cannon
Right.
form.
Which is weird, because this script, I guess he doesn't describe what Galvatron really looks like, but Megatron had an arm cannon.
Yes.
Wouldn't you assume that Galvatron would have an arm cannon? So
Yes.
pulling out a blaster is very strange.
Maybe it's the same blaster that killed Prime.
I mean...
Yeah, maybe so.
Okay, so as the blast disintegrates Starscream and his smithereens retain his shape and terrified expression for an instant, which we see in a minute, then they fall away. I mean, why not say crumble? And dissolve, leaving only a burnt spot on the floor where Starscream had been standing. Galvatron confronts other Decepticons boastfully. "Does anyone else question my authority?" And we pan for their reaction as they ponder for a brief beat, exchanging looks. Dirge says, "All hail Galvatron!" And then they all say, "Hail Galvatron, hail!" Galvatron swaggers onto the raised platform on which King Starscream had been standing, taking cheers of Decepticons for a beat, and then raises hands abruptly, getting instant silence and shouts, "Prepare an offering of energy for Ingester."
Whoa, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Good. We're nice and off the rails.
Yep, we are back into it, and that's where that minute ends.
I was getting worried for a second that
There's
your
gonna
version
be-
was going to be kind of too normal.
Nope.
As I tend to do, I will go first and get mine out of the way. The script that I have says that as he consumes the moon base, that bit by bit we see new sections of the planet being generated. So the script is insinuating that we would actually see Unicron grow with each meal, which is kind of a cool concept, actually. But as he's attacking the moon base, it also refers to the sinister mist that we saw back to the beginning begins to pour out of him as he approaches the moon base. Excuse me. Jazz starts transmitting, which is pretty much the same, and the script transitions us to Earth and tells us that Autobot City is almost rebuilt.
Wow. They had, I'm sure, a crack team. Thousands of workers.
Like, maybe if they somehow kidnapped the Constructicons and enslaved them.
How long did it take to rebuild the 9/11 site? 5 years.
So that's obviously ludicrous from a lot of levels. First, because what we see on screen is the exact opposite. Autobot City is hopelessly smashed. Not a fixer-upper. Leave it. Also, even if it was, a day has passed. Like, I don't care if they had 6 sets of Constructicons.
That's true.
Like, there's no way they could fix that whole goddamn
That's
city.
hilarious.
But Unicron's energy field, also, they speak of it dissolving the moon landscape. And so, lots of talk about that dissolving action that we never actually saw on screen.
Well, for mine, this one is a long one. So everybody hunker down. Take your dicks out. Take your pussies out.
Let's not.
Get
Not in this climate.
yourself a drink and let's listen to this fucking shit.
Consensually do the things that
Yes,
Ryan just
thank
said.
you. Thank you.
I assumed they were alone.
Oh, God.
Okay, so on Scourge and the Sweeps, they quickly haul Energon cubes out to the center of the hall and stack them up. Yeah, as Cyclonus and his minions also bring in Energon cubes from adjacent storehouses, making a large pile. And then Bone Crusher says, "That's all the Energon left on Cybertron," which I guess was all in one place. Dirge thrusts an Astrotrain. They push forward and they seem really hesitant about it. And Astrotrain says, "We'll have no energy left for ourselves." Galvatron shoves Dirge and thrusts aside to let more Energon cubes pass all the energy to Ingester. Galvatron reacts as a cold ray suddenly pierces the sky and bathes the stack of Energon cubes in its light. There's a ghostly voice of Ingester greedily, energy. Parentheses, noises of devouring.
Doesn't he get energy from eating planets?
Yes, that's coming up.
Okay.
But also Energon cubes, I guess. On the Energon cube pile, they shimmer and dissolve and are sucked into the cold ray and move up and off into that ray into space, traveling at great speed. Bone Crusher, it's sucking up the Energon cubes. And then Dirge in a voiceover, like soda oil through a straw. Stop that. Stop doing that.
That's a definite Friedman line right there.
God, that script is so bananas.
Soda oil.
It never fails to surprise me.
Oh, man. We move along the ray down to Cybertron from a great distance, moving up very fast, following the energy stream, accompanied by sucking soda straw noises.
Oh, no!
like you're at the end of the soda?
Yeah, like, I think he was just thirsty when he wrote this. And then the cold ray ends on Unicron, where energy flows down into Unicron through a cold ray straw and instantly changes color of the slab planet, causing the entire planet to start rotating more rapidly on its axis, a light source infusing its surface as Unicron expands, like in yours, it gets bigger, a great sigh and starts moving out of orbit toward the camera. That's good soda. Filling the screen as it moves with great speed. And then we're back in the Hall of Heroes. They look up in the sky at a cold ray that just sucked up all the Energon cubes dry. Astrotrain says, look, up in the sky. And Dirge, Scrapper, et al. What is it? It's a whole planet. It's coming to us in that beam of light. And Unicron comes to a stop in the sky close to Cybertron, looming enormously close, like some giant moon threatening to crush the planet which has attracted it, still tethered to Cybertron by the cold ray. The Decepticons are shocked. And then we go to the munitions factory on Cybertron with the moon of Cybertron with Jazz and Cliffjumper. They react, looking off at Unicron, which looms even larger to them since the moon is nearer to it than Cybertron. A strange.
Thanks for the explanation of foreshortening script.
That's right. What's that humongous planet doing here? That was bad Jazz. I can't get the Cascade Carruthers. And then Cliffjumper says, it's destabilizing our gravity.
You gotta do Casey Kasem as Cliffjumper.
It's destabilizing our gravity. And then Jazz says, talk to me, Earth. We got a situation. See, I got it back. Then it's very similar in Autobot City, which again in this script says is almost rebuilt and refortified. And then the same kind of thing where Jazz talks to Blaster. And we even have in this script, Springer and RC are working to fit a whole section into place as Daniel is motioning them to move it a little this way.
They kept it in the movie.
He's just a little foreman.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised if they look at him and just drop that column
Well,
on his ass.
that's what we white males are good at. We're foremen. We're overseers.
Jesus. Yes. Officer, overseer. Sorry, shout out to KRS-One.
Blaster says, Blaster always rhymes in this script. He says, something's coming down the pike that I shall play upon my mic. Whoa! Yeah, and then basically we have the same thing where he relays the message. Springer runs off, says, I have to go tell Ultra Magnus, which again, this is a good edit here because it's like they do in the movie, where just have Ultra Magnus there hearing the message. And then we're back in the Cybertron in the Hall of Heroes, and Scourge says, what's happening, mighty Galvatron? And Galvatron says, I don't know. And then Dirge points up, look, the third moon. And and the moon is beginning to pull away from an orbit ring and slowly move toward Unicron. A dark spot appears in Unicron, and spot appears, well, that's a typo, to open into gaping dark hole, which changes outline and shows lines of moisture like saliva as salivating sounds of slurping and sucking are heard. I think he has an ASMR thing.
Slurping and sucking.
And then Dirge says, that planet is trying to devour it. And more intensely, the cold ray suddenly extends to that moon, drawing the moon toward it faster and faster. And that's the one that, I guess they're saying that that's the one that Jazz and Cliffjumper are on. Because then it cuts to Jazz and Cliffjumper where there are quakes, tremors, and cyclonic winds. The structures start to collapse, and then Jazz and Cliffjumper get to an escape vehicle as Unicron looms larger. Its maw working closer and closer.
Slurping and
that's right.
salivating.
And Jazz says, the same thing. This survived all the way through. Got to blast free if we can. And that's where that minute ends.
So, oh my god, there's no way they could have made this movie. For every minute of movie that actually is produced, there's 10 minutes of movie in your script.
Yeah, it would have been so long.
I guess that's a good strategy for writing it. You overwrite it and have it get
and then you
whittled
edit,
down.
yeah. And that's the thing is like that. Again, this is a first draft, so whenever you were writing a first draft, it's never meant to be what it is. It's just you write and write and write, and then you cut and fix later. So we're being a little hard on Ron.
Love it.
We're being hard on it, but
We're being hard,
It's so
on it, but
good. It's so
fun.
good.
Just because we're jealous. It's just hate.
I'm not jealous. I just like making fun of things.
Well, it's like we said, it's bananas.
Yes.
But it's also amazing.
Well, yeah, I love it. It's so fucking crazy.
My version, which as we've discussed in the past, is gotta be a more recent version than your version. We think your version is an
really early
one.
draft.
My version that I've been following is probably, maybe the draft right before the final draft.
It's more whittled down for sure.
But the difference on mine is that when Spike and Bumblebee contact Earth, they reach Ultra Magnus on what is a portable communication device, not the 1990s public library monitor that we see them on in the movie. And Spike tells Ultra Magnus that it's a terrible nightmare. Finally, this is actually really interesting, and there's sort of either an editing flub, but so we're going to get to Galvatron and giving his Cybertron and its moons line in the next minute. But in the script, he delivers that line in between the moon crunchings. So put a pin in that because we'll come back to it.
Okay.
But technically, by the script that I have, Moonbase 1 gets eaten, then Galvatron's like, rah, 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 Unicron, and then the next one gets eaten. But that's not the way it happens on screen.
Yeah, that doesn't work as well.
It's sequenced weird.
I mean,
I think actually it could work better.
it could, but like Unicron's reaction.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. Okay, so in mine, this one's pretty short. This one, they get into the escape pod and start retro blasters. The flame of the blasters whirling in wild winds, which is some good alliteration. And the moon is sucked closer, closer, closer. Then we go to Galvatron. So this may be, similar to yours. Galvatron in the Hall of Heroes, he reacts. He says, "Cybertron and its moons are mine!"
And he's saying that to Unicron. Like,
He's screaming it.
Don't eat the moons; they're mine.
He's just screaming it. And he says, "Ingester has no right to absorb any of them."
Okay.
So yeah, he's just
He's
screaming.
being possessive. Okay.
The moon is now very close to Unicron's maw, and the moon is being dragged closer, closer, and a beam of cold light on that moon in the escape pod. And this is, again, cliff jumper, ignition, and more quakes, and then Jazz says, "Hit it!" And it blasts off and away from Unicron with an explosion. The moon is sucked completely into Unicron's maw, which closes around it with a snap and a juicy series of slurping noises.
What's up with these
I don't
slurps?
I don't know which.
If anybody could have made
Goodbye,
those,
listeners who hate that.
if anybody could have made a slurping sound for this, it would have been our man Orson Welles. He probably had the residue of a steak that he'd had prior to
Just stuck in his teeth.
Yeah. Got like half a lamb chop.
Orson Welles strikes me as the type of guy that always has a toothpick in his mouth.
That was a delicious 4 chickens I had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the color of Unicron changes again, and the illumination within Unicron shifts and glows in an odd series of patterns, which I guess like a crystal ball or something, like a cloudy crystal ball. And then the ghostly voice of Ingester. And in this one, there's no Moonbase 2. So that's the end of that sequence. Yeah.
Wait a minute. In the last sequence, didn't you say there were 3 moon bases?
It said, yeah, it's like, it's real confusing because it says there's like Moonbase 3, but it seems to be like it was reduced to 1 Moonbase and maybe he forgot to take it out of this part.
I guess.
But
by a factor of 2.
yes, so there's only 1 Moonbase unless there's something after the next minute because that's the only one that I've read forward to. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well,
That's
don't
the end of
spoil it.
that.
Don't spoil it. So I'm trying to think here. I will just go. Is yours more on the rails or off the rails?
My mom, I have a deviation. My mom deviated from the traditional Thanksgiving meal, went from a turkey to a honey baked ham.
What?
I know,
Most people
right?
get both.
Not this year.
It was a dark day in the Carter household.
Spiral cut.
And then things spiraled quickly out of control.
Your uncle with his mashed potatoes.
It was chaos.
Situation.
Like, what the hell is this?
Did you guys do like a
Food fight?
Yeah.
Yes, it was a food fight. Yes. I got scalded by hot melted marshmallows from the top of the sweet potato casserole.
Listeners, were any of you ever in a 1980s style high school
fight?
cafeteria food fight? If you are, reach out, let us know.
There was a food fight I was in where mainly it was in, I believe, middle school, and it was very short, like a small number of skirmishers. But I believe pickles were involved mostly. It was a hamburger day.
I was never involved in a food fight there.
I like how in those movies when that happens,
Everybody.
well, first of all, they last 20 minutes. Second of all, there's always that part where sort of that person who's the stick in the mud, like
Sticks their head up out from behind the table.
and they get nailed,
Yeah.
and then they participate. Then all of a sudden they maybe even have the last word in the deal. They put the finishing touch. They body that fight.
Heavy amount of creams in food fights.
It goes all the way back to the Three Stooges, I believe. So, okay.
To answer your question, mine's not that different.
Okay. Well, I'll do mine first real quickly then. Although there is a weird thing that happens, and I can't tell if it's screw up in whoever translated or put the script that I have online. But once Spike and Bumblebee get cut off from a previous minute, the script cuts to Galvatron and his armada attacking the crew on Earth. It doesn't pick up on the whole Moonbase 2 sequence until way after the crew lands on Junkion, after Hot Rod and Cup resolve all of the shit on Quintessa, right after Wheelie takes them like on that corkscrew ship, and then the script picks back up on Unicron devouring Moonbase 2. So
presumably, Spike and Bumblebee on Moonbase 2 are just looking at this planet the
Right.
whole movie.
Right. It's just maybe stalled there.
Yeah.
Maybe Galvatron made that threat and Unicron just stalled there for a second and he comes back to it. I can't remember if I picked up on that. But the other thing is, we don't know why, but when you do fast forward in the script to pick up to them, it does say 20 seconds, not 20 minutes, just to resolve that dispute. But I still feel like that's
You're
stupid.
the only one disputing that.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
Okay. On mine, this one's a pretty short one. Okay. On this minute, Galvatron in the Decepticon Hall of Heroes. Silence. No more winds. No more movement. All is still. And then, with a sudden continuous motion, Unicron swells in size so it looks even closer, like a balloon, into which more air has suddenly been pumped. So, this is the ghostly voice of Ingester, which is now deeper, louder, more overtones added. There is insufficient energy in this galaxy. Go to Earth. Deliver its power to me.
Isn't that in the same galaxy?
Couple points. Yeah, 100% is in the same galaxy. Okay. It's even in the same star system at this point. So this gets even weirder later. Or in the next line, Galvatron, defiant. That moon, this universe is mine. So now we're the whole universe. It's like not even galaxy, just universe. Okay. Another angle on Galvatron as Cold Ray suddenly descends and traps him, making him writhe in pain beneath it, powerless to resist. The ghostly voice of Ingester. I am Ingester, dominator of the cosmos. You shall obey. Galvatron, gasping for breath, writhing, nods. I hear and obey, mighty one. The Cold Ray vanishes and Galvatron clutches his throat and tries to regain his composure. Ghostly voice of Ingester. To Earth and victory. Galvatron, a ferocious yell. Investor and victory!
Investor?
Ingester. Not Investor. Yeah, he was...
That's the Holy Trinity. You've got Unicron, Ingester, and Investor.
They were starting
He's the money man.
That's right. They were starting an Etsy business.
Etsy business.
That's right.
What kind of crafts is Unicron creating?
Oh, man. It's just like giant... like cocktail forks to spear the planets. Place
That's
cards.
pretty good. We can move on.
All right. Fuck you. All right, we pan on Scourge, Sweeps, and the other Decepticons that quickly take up the battle cry, Ingester and Vectore, and Galvatron and his entire force of newly created Lifespark minions and Decepticons take off in battle formation, shouting the Ingester and Victory cry as we cut to next episode.
Oh.
That's our show for the week, ladies and gentlemen. As you can probably hear in my voice, I'm a little under the weather currently, but I'm sure it's nothing that a lot of gin can't cure. Actually, with this chest congestion, I may be able to do a passable Unicron. Let's see. Welcome, Megatron. Then it pleases me to be the first. Ultra Magnus lives on the planet of junk. Stalk him, tear him apart, and destroy the Autobot. Oh yeah, pretty flawless Unicron there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, as always, we hope you enjoyed this week's show. Check out our website, autopoddecepticast.com, where our store is up and running. Gift giving is just around the corner, and there's something in the store for the whole family. As long as your family enjoys inside baseball, Transformer pin references, and recruitment posters. Also, we fixed our shipping. It was a little wonky there for a while. It's kind of hard to adjust. It's good now. So tell your friends, like, comment, subscribe. We are at Autopod Decepticast on all of the things. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, and probably whatever aggregator is your choice. So until next time, pistols at dawn. Bye, bye, bye.
Cybertron!
Blow cells, where we sell good.